Now, we're doing this super early Sunday, 8 a.m. Sydney time. And we always do this time so it fits well, it gets the end of the UK, fits well of the United States. And of course, it gets us early birds in Australia. But chances are you're probably watching the recording. So I just want to say a big welcome. Our International Boss Ladies Summit is for ladies and gentlemen. It's all about empowerment, and we have an amazing panel of legendary ladies. Now, we've got quite a few people still signing in. So if you've just come in, just going to say, if you could just please keep your microphones on mute for the duration of the summit, that'll be awesome. But use the chat. Please use the chat to network, say hello, whatever you want to do. Now, today's theme is love, relationships, and expectations. And I thought, what a thorny, awesome topic to go into. I think we've all been chilled and burnt by love at some point, and we love love as well. And it's all part of the human psyche. So I thought we'd unpack it from an empowering point of view. And I want to give a quick honourable shout to wonderful Lassie as well. Lassie is running around looking after the kids, doing an amazing job while we're doing this. So if we can give a massive round of applause to Lassie, we absolutely appreciate her, which is all really good. So we've got a few panelists here today. We've got the amazing Karen Clark, if we can wave to Karen. We've got Marianne Hines. He's from Quantum Leap Global. That's Marianne Hines. She's just joined us on the panel. We've got amazing Eileen Avard. Big wave to Eileen Avard. And we've got Master Coach Sonia, who's logging in. And I just want to say a big welcome. And to all those watching, a big thank you. Keep the chat going. Now, open up the event. I definitely want to open up with the amazing Eileen Avard. We're going to kick it off there because Eileen's I always like Eileen's sort of like the one I like to kick the door down with. So Eileen, great having you with us. How are you, my friend?
Very good. And I think it's because you call me or you pick on me because my name starts with A. So my name's right at the very start.
Oh, that's too funny. My last name is Zia, so I'm always at school, I'd be on the bottom of the roll. Unless there was a Chinese, I'd always have a Chinese friend called Zhang who usually beat me there. So it's all good. Now, Eileen, so good having you with us. We're going to open up with you. What does love mean to you?
Oh, thank you very much. Love that. I've been married for over 37 years. So love is all about, it's about the willingness to give more than you receive. It's about stretching yourself so that you can accommodate others and also be able to achieve your own dream. It's about letting go things and people that does not align with your value. So love is very much that it's a two ways, but yet it's not just taking, that's it. So love to me is very much that.
Oh my God, what a great answer to open up things with. Round of applause to you, Eileen. We love it. And a big thank you. And let's bounce on to our new panelist, Marianne Hines. Marianne and I go way back, amazing leader. And we actually caught up, I think, just pre the big lockdown to do some interviews. And Marianne, how have you been, my friend?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's great to be here with everyone, particularly on an early Sunday morning for us in Australia anyway.
Now, because this is your first time with us, just before I hit you with a question, can you tell us a little bit about you, Marianne, just to welcome you into the panelist community?
Yeah, so Quantum Leap Global is the company that I co-founded with my husband, who is actually also on the call today. And so we're a human potential company, and we specialise in igniting not only individuals, but teams and business potential as well. We look at financial wellness from a behavioural perspective, and then also psychological safety as the foundation to the human experience and what is needed in teams and business and families and homes so that all people can feel included, like they belong, and so that they can thrive. So it's one of our passions.
Absolutely amazing. And just very quickly, I understand that Michael DeHaan is your husband, that legendary bald man as well, like myself.
Yeah, go the ball, guys.
Can we, and just so you know, I'm being silly, Michael DeHaan and I go way back. Please, everyone, connect with Michael DeHaan. He's an amazing man. Good seeing you, Michael. And just a quick wave to Dr. Liz, who's joining us today. One of our panelists. Will come back to you, Dr. Liz, so don't worry, you got a moment to chill out. So, Marianne, back to you. I just want to ask you the number one question. What does love mean to you?
So love for me, well, I think we can all agree that love is a key component of the human experience. So, and it's something that we all look for. And it's about really holding something that is dear to you and having a sense of deep connection. And that's not just to your partner or your family members, but it could be to an animal, it could be to aspects of the earth or the whole earth, or even experiences. So one of the things that I've really learned about love, however, while we talk a lot about love of another, is, and it was something that was very transformative for me, was around loving self first. So when I talk about love, I'm also talking about learning to love ourselves, our whole selves, and that includes our shadows as well. And I think once I learned that, it opened up a whole new world for me and, changed the way that I interacted with the world and other humans as well.
Oh, it's funny, loving your own shadow. I've got quite a big shadow to love, and I've been working on it. And
we all do have shadows.
Marianne, great answer. Can we give a round of applause to wonderful Marianne? I appreciate it. We're going to bounce over to Karen Clark and then Master Coach Sonia. Karen Clark, so good having you with us. And how are you today, Karen? What's news?
Hey, Ed, and everybody. I'm really great today. Thank you. My news is that yesterday I had my first online vision workshop, 3-hour vision workshop for a very long time. I have done shorter ones online, but I haven't done my full 3-hour one. And I had six people there. And it was just absolutely awesome. Just fantastic. And we did the time machine, which is a special, like you stand up and turn around anti-clockwise 3 times, and it moves you forward in time to visualize what it is you want to be and bring that really to fruition. We did it in breakout rooms and pairs, and I've never done that before. It was absolutely awesome. Everyone loved it.
Oh my God, I love it. Time machines and everything. And congratulations in your workshop. And I'm sure you explored the concept of love in your workshop, at least touched on it. Karen, tell us what love means to you.
Yeah, so we do cover love. I love what Marianne said too about loving ourselves, and that's so important. What I just have discovered throughout my life is that I don't believe we can receive love or feel that we've received love fully unless we fully love ourselves. So for me, love is things like being listened to, being supported and believed in, being respected, and people keeping agreements, having integrity in a relationship is also very important to feel loved. Oh. So, for me, it's something, as I say, that one has to have for oneself before one can really fully be loved by someone else, feel that one is fully loved by someone else. It's a two-way street.
It's incredible. Incredible. No, where that resonates with me, I've always had a troubling relationship myself. And if you hate yourself, it's very hard to feel loved in that moment, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny, just to add to that, I've in a lot of my Christian sort of veteran work, I've spoken to a lot of people who've been in prison. They've been bad people, for men and women being in prison. All the people I've met to Brisbane been to prison hate themselves at some level. So yeah, you touched a nerve there. Awesome, Karen.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my God. Love your work. Round of applause to you, amazing Karen. Powerful as always. And we're going to bounce over to Master Coach Sonia and then Dr. Liz. I was just going to say, for those in the wonderful audience, please keep saying hello. If you've got any questions or thoughts you want to throw in there, please do. And Master Coach Sonia, how have you been, my friend? So good having you with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm doing pretty well. It's been kind of a rough month. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, and we had surgery. She had surgery this last week, and we got results back where her margins are clear, and so the cancer hasn't spread. And so that's been the best news I've received all week. Because you don't realize how much you love someone until something like that happens. So, and also I got my son's fiance princess from the Philippines arrived in the United States. This is her here.
Ah.
And my son Drew, after 2.5 years, she finally arrived on the United States on January 24th, which is her birthday, longest day ever. And then, and I get to go to the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, and sing with my mother-in-law. So I've had a really eventful month traveling and with family. But what love means to me is loving the life you live and live the life you love. And, I think sometimes that is such a simple statement, but it's right there in front of you to, remember that when you go through tough times, remember, what love is all about. And, it's unconditional. And I really feel that in the Bible, love, 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind. I have had that up in my house ever since I was a teenager, wherever I've lived, because that is a great reminder of, always being, having your heart full of love and, in giving that, especially when there's someone that needs that.
Wow. Incredible. Can we please give it up, really give it up for Master Coach Sonia. Master Coach Sonia, thank you for coming today. I mean, highs and lows. Your whole month has just been an emotional roller coaster. And can we give a massive love heart to Sonia as well? Master Coach Sonia, you are an amazing lady. And just adding to that, Mel Jensen is with us. We love Mel. Mel Jensen made a powerful comment. I know that, referring to Sonia, I know the feeling, Sonia. My mum was diagnosed with cancer in 91, but passed away 6 weeks later. I'm crying for you. Hope your mum recovers, and lots of love from Geelong, Australia. Mel, we absolutely love you. And Marianne's sending you lots of love, and everyone's here. So, Sonia, can we give it up for Sonia again? That's incredible. What a amazing. And I was going to say, your son's got amazing taste in women. You're going to have some good-looking grandkids. I can promise you that. There you go.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
There you go. Love you, Sonia. Round of applause again. Let's bounce over to the amazing Dr. Liz. Dr. Liz, we're so good to have you with us. I know you've been flat out lately. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Yes, things are going very well, but very hectic. And yes, as I said, with this topic, an important topic, but a little bit of an ouchy topic for me at the moment. So, but I thought I'd get on and share because, lots of people are going through relationship breakups and things. So always good to have it from all different sort of perspectives, hey?
Yeah, and that's and two things I want to say on that. Thank you for coming on, Dr. Liz, because I know it's an ouchy topic for you. And I've got to make another point as well. You and I seem psychologically linked, Dr. Liz, because every time we are both slimmer every time we catch up. It's like we're both shredding at the same rate. Have you noticed that, Dr. Liz?
Oh, it's amazing. Well, that's part of when we talk about self-love and whatever else as well. I guess that's one of the points that I want to make is in terms of nurturing and doing it from a place of, well-being and self-love, as opposed to punishment, because that's often, particularly in the wellness industry, it's a bit tricky because often it's, we like to label things good or bad or, with food or exercise or whatever. Whereas if we think more in terms of nourishment, self-love, doing it because we care and respect ourselves, I think it puts a completely different twist on things and makes, the outcomes so much more enjoyable all the way around.
Oh, amazing. And I couldn't agree with you more. I've never been comfortable with the statement, no pain, no gain. Never been comfortable with that statement. But I want to please tell us, I know you've been through a real amazing rough time over the past 6 to 12 months. What does love mean to you, and what are some of the things you want to share with us, Dr. Liz?
Yeah, so as a little bit of background, for those of you who don't know, I am going through a marriage breakup. So that's why it's a bit of an ouchy subject, but I'm doing well now, thank you. So love to me, I think, echoing what everyone else has said, but I think it's really about connection and respect and loyalty and all those sorts of things. And that, yes, it can be love with, intimate partner, but family. And I think, you know, the older I'm getting, and hopefully the wiser I'm getting, you know, I'm seeing love everywhere. And even in terms of, you know, like the beautiful community that we're building here, different networks, different connections. So I really like to look at the lens now that, you know, love is really just about, you know, connecting and not being afraid to be yourself, heard and listened. And so I think I'm sort of seeing at this stage more at that sort of level, I guess, rather than just, you know, romantic type love.
Wow, incredible. And Dr. Liz, thank you again. I love the color you're wearing. You and Eileen are in full red today. The color of love. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Round of applause to you, Dr. Liz. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. I know this is a touchy topic. You know, it's even getting me a little bit as well. It's really got me thinking on that deeper level. Now, what we're going to do is I just want to say a big thank you to our audience as well. Thank you for all your thoughts. And I'm just going to go through it. Karen Clark says, Sonia, I'm sending you and your mum lots of love. We love you, Karen Clark. We've got Cami with us. Cami, we love you as always. And I love Camilla. Can we all give a big wave to Camilla? Camilla says, good morning, everyone. I'm embracing authenticity, showing up in my PJs and no makeup. I always say, you don't need makeup. You look amazing as Camilla, so don't you worry about a thing. There you go. I didn't put on makeup today, I can tell you that. But I did shave, though. I did. Michael gets this. I did shave the head today to get a nice shine before the event. And Graciela sends Sonia lots of love. So we've got an amazing crew here. Eileen, as well as putting some, Eileen's actually going to soak up a bit more information, and we're going to bounce back a bit to Eileen a bit later. So let's launch straight into legendary Marianne for our next question. Marianne, what are your thoughts and reactions to what you've heard so far?
Well, there's a few things. I absolutely love what Sonia said around love the life you live and live the life you love. I think for anyone that knows my background, I had my first husband pass away when I was 35. And in that moment, I learned very clearly that I was going to live life that I 100% loved. And when I no longer loved it anymore, I would make a change and, you know, do the things that I needed to do to live the life that I 100%, you know, wake up and bounce out of bed for. So I really love that statement. It's something that really resonates with me. Also, Liz, doing things from a place of love. I think that's absolutely paramount, particularly when it comes to your own self-love and self-healing. It's doing it for you, not for the external forces. So it's more of that inside out work rather than the outside in work. And I spent a large part of my career being externally validated and my life externally validated. So to come in and really go, okay, what is it that's going to fulfill me? What is it that's going to fill my cup, rather than worrying about the titles or the salary or the house or the car that I drove or what people thought. So they were two of the standouts that really, all of it stood out for me. But yeah, those ones really resonated.
Wow.
Resonated. Did I say that right?
No, I think resonated. Resonated. I know what you mean. It's early morning. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you just need to be high on caffeine, like I am.
need more caffeine.
Yeah, you got to be high on caffeine. There we go. We should do our next one on addictions, which I'll be discussing.
Well, coffee is definitely mine.
There you go. Now I want to ask you. This flows into the second part of our topic, and it's a two-part question, and I want to leave it open you to explore. What makes a good relationship and what makes a bad relationship? Love to hear your unpack on that one, Marianne.
Well, I think it actually really follows on from what I was just saying, and what I think Dr. Liz has also touched on is that if you are connected into who you are as a person and what you stand for, then you're able to come from a place and go out into the world and attract the people that are aligned to, aligned to your values. And when you draw boundaries and, set expectations, which we all should be doing, then you're going to be finding mutually beneficial relationships. But if you're going with a deficit inside or some healing that still needs to happen, and listen, we all have healing to do, like it's part of the human experience, myself definitely included. It's not been a rosy journey to where I am today, but when you come from that place of love of self, then you're not looking for an external party to complete you or fulfill you or make you as one. You are already one. You don't need somebody else to do that. So I think they're the sort of things that I would really look at. And like in my coaching, it is really, I start with the human and their world first, and then from there we go, we can start to look at career and love, etc.
Marianne, amazing. Thank you for that. Can we give a round of applause to amazing Marianne? Love it. We're going to bounce over to Karen Clark and then Master Coach Sonia. And I just want to go through some of the reactions we've got in here as well. Wonderful Simone Louise. Big wave to Simone Louise. We love Simone Louise. My 5-year-old told me yesterday, I love my life, considering we have just made a really big move out of our area. That's refreshing here. Well, there you go. Your 5-year-old is a great mother, so I'm not surprised that they're doing great. And also we've got a great chef from Mel. We love amazing Mel. I used to have, and I can relate with this too, because Mel and I actually get on really well. We're very similar. Mel says this: I used to have a hatred for myself because of my negativity in the past. However, since COVID hit and being in these meetings, I've started to love myself more. A big thank you to everyone for supporting me. We love you, Mel. And I used to have a very strong hatred for myself, so I totally get it. And Karen Clark, thank you for being here so early as well, because it is Brisbane, and same for Dr. Liz, you guys got to get up earlier. What are some of your reactions and thoughts so far to what you've heard? Awesome, Karen Clark.
Amazing. Everyone brings a little bit of a different perspective into it, and I love what Marianne's just been saying. And I'm thinking, while she was saying boundaries, I was like already thinking boundaries, So for me, a great relationship, it's mutual. So like Marianne said, you can't have a great relationship with someone if you are looking for them to fill a whole lot of voids that you're missing. And so it's so important that we learn to love ourselves as we are and love every part of ourselves before we can really, I believe, have a great relationship. We're talking about the intimate life relationship, but for me also, love relates to many relationships. I have many people. I really love my friends, and my children. And also to have a good relationship, one must have boundaries, because if you don't, it's a human nature once again for some people to start to do something that might not be in keeping with you feeling loved as the recipient of that. However, it's always a two-way street. If someone says or does or treats you in a way that is not nice, you first of all must show that is not nice for you by being really clear on your personal boundaries. Sorry, Ida, you can say something?
No, I'm just taking it all in. This is no, you're actually I just want to apologize. So if you see weird reactions from me, this topic's stirring up just want to let you know this topic is stirring up a lot of stuff in me. So if I react strangely, it's because all of you guys are poking me in different sore spots. So keep it going. So if I show weird reactions, those are Ed's issues.
No, you're moving your hands. So
I'm feeling very uncomfortable today. I'm loving it, but I'm also feeling very uncomfortable as you all poke me in different directions to continue.
So the personal boundaries and the external boundaries are all part of being treated okay. I've got a daughter who was bullied, and she was bullied and treated not okay for so many years of her life until she started herself to realize that if someone started to take advantage of her, because she wanted everyone to like her, right? That's one of the things we do. And that comes from a lack of love of ourselves as well. So when you look outside yourself, you'll often find that the way people treat you is as a result of how you feel about yourself. And you know what? Most of us treat ourselves worse than we would, and sometimes we treat ourselves worse than we would treat our biggest enemies, by what we're thinking about ourselves. And we say it to ourselves in our minds as well sometimes. So, I just want to say to Liz too, I know what you're going through. I've been through that myself many years ago, and I never thought it would happen. And what I discovered is I'd taken some things for granted about my husband at the time and what his values were and how he would treat me, which were wrong. And the hardest thing I discovered is that you can't affect how someone else is going to treat you in those kind of situations. You can't change someone else. All you can do is change yourself.
Oh, great one. And if I can just ask a bit of a dark follow-up question, if you don't mind, Karen, a bit of a dark question. What do you find makes a bad relationship? What are some of the ingredients of a toxic, poisonous, bad relationship?
Lack of trust, lack of integrity, and selfishness.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. A round of applause to Karen. That's amazing. And I want to react through the comments. Camilla says, amen. We love you, Camilla. Carolyn Murray says, hey, everyone. Hope you're well. Loving this topic. I find it very emotive. Yeah, me too. I'm squirming like a worm on a fishing hook right now. Cami says, awesome words from a child. Love your work, Simone. Camilla's sending Karen some love. Simone says, love your honesty. Yeah. I don't need to be honest. You can just tell by my squirming. I'm feeling a bit weird right now. And Mel sends some love to Simone as well. And Michael Dehan just says, great perspective. So keep the comments coming and absolutely amazing. And I just want to bounce over to Master Coach Sonia. And Master Coach Sonia, again, massive thank you. Thank you again for coming. I know you've gone through you've had the ultimate high and low roller coaster lately. So what are your thoughts and reactions to what you've heard, Sonia? And thanks again.
Thank you. I resonate with Dr. Liz and Karen. You know, I've gone through some pretty painful breakups in life with my partners, and you know, I've really discovered that, you know, love. You know, when we're born, we're not taught to love. I don't believe. I think it's just natural, but we can be taught to be hateful or to be, you know, all these other things. And I was Karen said something about, you know, boundaries, and then I heard something else about working from the inside out, I think, from Marianne. And I believe in order to have a strong foundation with love, you know, have that honesty, that trust, the communication, and, you know, the respect, you know, those are so important in any relationship, whether it's professional or personal, because you want to know you're on the same page. And you know, a lot of us who are naturally loving and show that sometimes can be taken as, you know, we give, and then they take. And so finding that balance and finding out where people are truly authentic with you, then that is, you know, one word: transparency. And so I think all of us have a great perspective and a lot of similar, there's a similar theme here.
Wow. Well said, Master Coach Sonia, and really appreciate it. I was going to ask you the follow-up question on that one. Can you tell us some elements of bad and good relationships? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think that when you are in someone else's presence, their energy, one, if you feel like it's negative or tense or you're walking on eggshells, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
You know, and then also if you feel like when you're having conversations with people and they cannot look you in the eye, you know, there's another red flag, is what are they hiding? What are they lying about? What is, you know, that, because that goes right to the trust. You know, they're breaking your trust by trying to deceive you, possibly. And you know, if you have a toxic environment, say in professional setting, that is going to drain you and break you, where you may not realize you're entering a, you know, our physiological state of that fight, flight, or freeze. And so our heart feels like it's hurting so bad that all we want to do is love and give and be the best person and help others succeed or lift them up to be successful. But, it's all about self-preservation. You have to really take care of yourself. And it's just like on the airplane that, what the students always say, or flight attendant, is when you get the mask, you put it on yourself first, and then you can help others. And that was a concept that was really hard for me to put myself first, because as a mother, raising my kids, as a single mom, you do everything that you can for them. You put them first. Or when you're a spouse, you want to put them first, or put them, give them that max love that you can. And so I think, with the different types of love that we can give, we still need to make sure we are loving ourselves. And I think a lot of it, we get so busy and inundated with different things that sometimes we forget about us.
Yeah. Well said, Master Coach Sonia. Round of applause to you, and really appreciate it. And a few great comments. Mel says, I get nervous when someone looks at me in the eye because the traumas I suffered when growing up. Well said, Sonia. Beautiful comment. And keep your comments coming. And a few other references as well, which has been really, really good. Carolyn Murray says, incredible how early childhood issues can still affect us so powerfully later in life. Absolutely. And true, Karen, what you said about boundaries and trust. Absolutely. And Camilla goes on to say, Karen, absolutely. It's incredibly impactful how it shapes our relationship with ourselves and others, and just incredible. Love all your contributions, and big thank you again, Master Coach Sonia. We're going to bounce over to Dr. Liz and then back to Eileen Avard and check in. Dr. Liz, thank you so much. Love to hear your thoughts and reactions to what you've heard so far.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? I love that everyone's sharing and, getting to the heart of the matter. So, no, I think it's been very good. And, I completely identify, with Master Coach Sonia. I think many of us busy working parents, the concept of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first is just sort of different to how we've lived life in default. So I agree. That's also been a tricky but a key one for me as well, that I think we should all follow. And no, it's been great. I've been resonating with what everyone has said. I've even taken a few notes for a few little reminders of things that I can probably continue to tweak. But no, I think it's great. It's a good discussion. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Liz, appreciate it. I want to ask you this question too, Dr. Liz. And what are some of the elements of a good and bad relationship? What are some of your thoughts there, Dr. Liz?
Yeah, so I think the classics in terms of foundation, honesty, integrity, connection, communication, I think is such a huge one. And maybe that's a future topic. I do genuinely think, I don't want to, gender stereotype. I do think men and women can communicate in different ways. So I think, keeping the communication channels open is absolutely key.
And just on that one, so I was going to bring that up too, by the way. So you always beat me to it, to like, just to jump in there. What are some of the, and again, we're talking generally, and that's cool. Generally speaking, what are some of the broad differences you see between men and women in this
Okay, keeping in mind this is coming from my sort of raw state at the moment, but I do think that often women, will share things and talk either about their concerns or check in, or, we just like to do updates. Whereas I think guys may want to just either sort of fix it or only raise things when they see it as a problem. But by then it might actually be too late. So I think it's just, the more regular sort of check-ins and understanding that because we might have these differences, how can we kind of meet in the middle, as opposed to, one person, chattering away and then the other person only sharing when it's, right at the end, or when it might already be a problem. So, those are just some simple ones, I think, for me. And sometimes even just getting into a neutral territory or being active. So I find a lot of the strategies that I use for my teenagers also work in this situation, like, in the car on a walk where there might not be that direct eye contact, and you're doing something that can actually help just lead into conversation better than, sitting down, looking at each other saying, we've got to talk.
Oh, wow. No, great point. And I think the moment you sit down to someone and you say, we got to talk, instant flight or flight kicks in. I like what you said. And that's very federal police of me. And that's what you do is the idea is you got to slide stuff into conversations so you don't trigger that defensive mechanism.
Yeah. Good thoughts.
Yeah. And what are some of your thoughts on just general bad or, good and bad aspects of good and bad relationships? What are some of your thoughts?
So to follow on, like for me, what I've always valued and really think is that, with a true love, whether romantically or just as friends, you should genuinely want the best for the other person and you should champion their dreams. That's what I think, unfortunately we have this culture, a little bit of the tall poppy syndrome, where we actually either get jealous or want to pull down other people's achievements. But I think that's completely wrong. If we really should champion each other's dreams, I think that's a big one. And in terms of not so positive signs, I think that's it. I think if there's either competitiveness or not genuine concern, that selfishness aspect as well. So I think we should be with people, friends, family, romantic relationships, whatever, that genuinely, I think, want the best for you. If there's a hidden agenda or they only get in touch when they want something, I think those are a few of the red flags that perhaps it's not the best relationship.
Oh, well said. Dr. Liz, brilliant. Can we have Dr. Liz a round of applause? We're going to speak thank you. We're going to bounce over to Eileen in a moment and just a few references. Keep your comments going. Master Coach Sonia says, love from animals is a great example of unconditional love, especially if you suffered any kinds of trauma. It helps fill your void when your heart feels like it's breaking. A lot of you have picked up our cat ran away overnight yesterday, but we got him back. So believe me, I felt a lot of love and trauma in a very, very short space of time. So there you go. So yeah, animals certainly get it, and which is all very, very good. Carol Murray is also talking about nature walks being very therapeutic. I agree with you, that one. Absolutely, and very good for calming discussions. And also, too, communication is imperative in every relationship from Master Coach Sonia. The other thing I was going to say as well is keep the chat going, keep networking too, and keep supporting each other. And Simone Louise makes a good point, which actually comes up in our next section. Surround yourself with the right crowd, which is very good. And Sonia also makes a reference to, nature walks and that sort of thing for autism and PTSD. Well, I got PTSD, so I know that one well. Big, big thank you. Now we're going to bounce back to Eileen Avad. Eileen, what are your thoughts of soaking this all in and what comes to mind? Awesome, Eileen.
Oh, I'm actually soaking all this in, yeah, and I've taken a few notes. I just loving this, and I think it is the mutual giving. Mutual givings about respect for each other, and I particularly like this. To have a great relationship, you must be willing to put yourself in the vulnerable positions. You must be wanting to step out into a space where you can experience things that you might not have. Well, some of the people are saying that you need to have an expectations to have a great relationship. And that is very, very true. To have an expectation, but also very much coming from a place of mutual giving. And when so what's your question?
No, just brilliant. That was good. I was just after general reactions, which is brilliant. And that flows into, to talk about mutual giving actually flows into what I was saying. And you're already answering this, Eileen. What are some of the aspects of good and bad relationships you'd love to share with us?
What makes a good relationship is that if you start from a place of mutual giving, because like what Sonia was saying, Master Coach Sonia was saying, there's some people who are very natural giver. So they just give. And then there's some people who are just natural taker. So they will just take. So unless you have a healthy boundary and really know what you allow and what you will not tolerate, then they will just continue taking. But if it's a relationship that is both it's a two-way street. then you can have a great relationship. And it's like coming from a place of your strong foundation of filling your cup up first. When you can fill your cup, your expectation from others is not that great. You will not be that clingy person. You will be coming from a place of completeness, or coming from a place that you know what you can give, what you're willing, and what you're not willing to give. Otherwise you come from a place of self that you need to preserve yourself if your cup is not full. And I like to say that love yourself first, then you're not seeking the expectation from others. And I love that from Marianne said. And it's like when you're full, and also I like what you were saying, you coach the humanness about the people. And I myself as a coach, I love to coach the person first, coach the humanness about them, help them to fill their cup so that they can give to others. And so that they will not rely on yourself. So to me, what makes a great relationship, look after yourself, give to others, fulfill. Then when your cup is full, you can give more to others. And a relationship is about independent and interdependent.
Well said. Can we give a round of applause to Eileen? I love it. Absolutely brilliant. And I'll go through some of the comments. Keep your comments going. Camilla says, love your perspective, Eileen. Dr. Liz gave you a shout out. Camilla says, fill your cup first so it overflows. And we got heaps of great references on values, congruence, and more. And Carolyn Murray makes a good point. We're the sum of the 5 people we spend our most time with. Absolutely. And this is all really, really good. And Eileen, you've got round of applause. Now, this brings us, we're coming towards the end of our Boss Ladies Summit. And thank you for, we're going through the last, pretty much the last round of questions and thinking. I just want to say a big thank you, everyone, for coming. The last round of thinkings and question, which is all absolutely amazing. And Master Coach Sonia, but we're going to bounce over to Marianne in just a moment. Master Coach Sonia has got a question. Keep it going in the chat, which is all really, really good. Master Coach Sonia says, I have a question. Has anyone gone through life not feeling loved or not knowing what love is? Ooh, something to think about. Feel free to put it in there. While we're doing that, we're going to go through our last round of questioning. Keep up the networking, keep up the chat. We're going to bounce over to amazing Marianne. Marianne, what are some of your thoughts and reactions to the great commentary you've heard?
So much, but I'll try and keep it short. Karen, I think, spoke about some really key stuff around people pleasing. So treating ourselves worse than we would treat, say, our enemy. And I know a lot in my coaching with women, like the internal chatter and the way that they talk to themselves. I would say, like, would you ever talk to like a 2-year-old child or your 2-year-old self like that? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, well, why would you do it to yourself then? So then it's working on how do you start to have that really deep relationship with yourself first. And I think all of these amazing panelists have talked and touched on it today, is like it has to start with yourself first. So I think the people pleasing one's another really interesting one as well. And that's when you're trying to manage how people perceive you. So you want them to like you, and you're doing so when you're people pleasing at the cost of your own authenticity. And it's been able to lean into that fear of rejection or fear of not being liked because you're drawing a healthy boundary or saying, actually, you know what, that's not okay with me. So I thought that was a really great one. Also, another one from Karen, you can't change others, only yourself. And I think that's a big learning. I had to go through this, when my younger years, you go into a relationship going, okay, well, I'll just, do this and do that. And then he'll be a better man. But it wasn't actually about him or her, or, it was actually about what was the work that I needed to do on myself. And then once you change yourself, your external, well, not change, I would say evolve yourself, then your external world, the way that you see the world changes as well. I think it was Sonia, you said about some of the telltale signs of a bad relationship. And I think we've all had those moments where you feel like you're walking on eggshells. No home should you be feeling like that you have to work on eggshells. It is a sign of not being psychologically safe, and you cannot thrive in those environments. Energy drains, I thought that was also a good one. And I think, Sonia, you also talked about self-first as well. And I think I think Carolyn had it in the chat, and she was talking about early childhood issues in your later life. And that's a lot of the work that Michael and I do. We look at, because they're very formative years, like from 0 to 7. We learn through osmosis, like children learn through osmosis. So whatever is happening in their environment, they absorb that. They absorb the relationship between their parental figures, but also, little things that you can be, children are to be seen and not heard, or, just be a good girl, and, don't speak your truth. All of that plays out in your life later on. I've had to do a lot of work on my own around visibility and using my voice and speaking my truth. And I know I'm not alone in that respect. So I thought that was a really great point that Carolyn brought up, just around, we all have that younger self that we carry into adult. It doesn't mean we're damaged or broken. It's just a healing that needs to happen. But then once that's healed, then you're able to, support others through their own healing as well.
Oh, brilliant and well said, Marianne. Now, you pretty much answered this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Love to hear two things. What are some of your thoughts on boundaries and expectations, and what are your closing thoughts for our wonderful listeners and fans across the world?
Well, it will be a recap on this one. I mean, for boundary setting to happen, you first of all need to know who you are and what you stand for, and you need to be connected to yourself. And then once you understand yourself, then you're able to come from that place when, people overstep the mark, and they come from, and a lot of times it's not intentionally to hurt you or to step over your boundaries. Maybe they're used to that in their life. So once you understand yourself, you're able to then to go in and say, that didn't make me feel good. And I prefer that we, so for me, for example, trust and integrity and honesty is critical. But early on in my life, if someone lied to me, I'd go, oh, it's okay, but then what did I get? I got more lying. And so if you want to, you've got to say no to what you don't want in your life before universe, relationships, whatever, start to show you what you're actually standing for. So I think it goes back to that self first, and then from there, whatever your values are, then, you can do it in a really calm, compassionate way. It doesn't have to be confrontational, just to say, that's a boundary for me, and have a conversation.
Marianne, brilliant. Can we give Marianne a round of applause? Marianne, big thank you. And we're going to bounce over to Karen Clark next. I'm just going to bounce through some of the comments. Carolyn makes a great comment talking about the importance of realizing the root and the cause of the unpleasant behavior that's irking us, and that helps us solve the problem. I love it. Keep networking, Graciela. Good seeing you, Graciela, showing maximum love. And Master Coach Sonia makes a good point. Negativity is easy to lash out others to make one feel better about themselves. And keep the comments beautifully going. And also Deborah Bard and Michael Tarr make some good points about the importance of love language and self-love, which is just absolutely amazing. So keep it up. So we're going to bounce over to Karen Clark and then Master Coach Sonia. Karen, as we come towards the end, what are some of the reactions, Karen, of what you heard and some of your thoughts?
Wow. There's my reactions. Wow. Yeah. So if I can talk to some of the things Marianne brought up first, because she was the most recent. And also I have put in the chat, Marianne, you are such an eloquent and articulate speaker, and you really hit the nail every time I've heard you speak, even when we've had conversations on Zoom ourselves. So, the last thing that you said about, we were talking about boundaries. You were talking about boundaries. And as you said, one has to be connected to oneself to know what our boundaries are and what we will accept and won't accept, because there's nothing right or wrong, right? there's nothing right or wrong or bad. We make things right and wrong and bad. So a boundary for me might be, and what I would accept or not be upset about could be so different for someone else. And like you say, people don't often do it intentionally. And so when I talked about my daughters with being bullied, you know, a person who bullies might just do a little say something just small that could be construed as not very nice. But you may not be able to really say, well, that's bad. But if the person who they're doing it to feels unhappy about it and they don't say anything, then what will happen is then it carries on. So when you said if someone, they might give you a little lie, right? And if you ignore it, then you'll get more and more and more. So it is about us knowing ourselves and knowing our boundaries and then being confident in that enough to say something. This is not for me. I don't feel good about that, or this, you know, my values are this, or however you'd say it. It doesn't have to be confrontational. So yeah, I love that. And I also want to speak to the points that both Marianne and I think it was Aileen, who was it? Who was the other person who was talking about when we're children? Sonia, was it? Help me out here. Who was the other person who?
I think
it was Carolyn in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was trying to find my unmute button.
All right, thank you. So yeah, absolutely. In the first 7 years and things, and you know, we say things as parents, our parents, grandparents, we say things to children, and in fact, we're taught. You know, you learn society's ways, and we don't realize the impact. As a child makes something mean. It makes everything mean something. And so people say things like, "Oh, be a good girl," like you say, or "Be a good boy," or "Oh, wow, you know, you're so good. That you're so good." And that sends a message to a child that if I do that, then I will get positive reinforcement, and it, you know, whatever it is. So there is work that we can always all have work done or do work on ourselves that's going to help us create the person who we really are. So the point, Eileen's been making some great points, you know, being about wanting to be vulnerable. And that's true. And especially if you've been through a previous broken relationship. And sometimes we think, oh, we'll never have love again. But let me tell you, you can. Having experienced it several times, you can love someone else in that way. You know, like a life partner several times. And, you know, it doesn't, even if the relationship, it's always a two-way street. So even if the relationship breaks up, you know, I'm good friends with most of the people I've been in an intimate, loving relationship with. A few. I haven't had hundreds, but I've had a few, you know. And also Eileen touched on the expectations of having a mutual giving relationship. And that's so important, because if we don't have an expectation for anything, it's not going to happen. And filling your cup first, absolutely. Like, once again, you cannot have a really healthy, loving relationship with someone unless you have a healthy, loving relationship with yourself. And I don't want to be repetitive, but we've said that. So it's not selfish. So when I said a bad relationship is selfish, someone being selfish, I want to clarify that, because being selfish versus selfless, and there's nothing wrong with being selfless and putting yourself first. And in fact, it's imperative for you to have a healthy relationship with anyone else. But being selfish to the extent that you're hurting someone else is not okay.
Aaron.
And does everyone know about the 5 languages of love? That's the other thing that's really important to have a loving relationship, is that we all have different languages to feel loved. And if what we tend to do is, if we love someone and we want them to feel loved, we'll use that particular love language that we have to feel loved on them. And you know what? It's not always the same. So, for example, in my family, gift giving is a language of love for a lot of the women in my family, giving gifts, giving beautiful gifts. And yet one of my daughters couldn't care less about gifts. Her love language is time, people giving her time or doing something for her. And so, you know, we can give her all the beautiful gifts in the world and it won't make her feel loved unless we give her some of our time. So it's important to know that too. Did I answer your question, Ed?
It's funny. You did such a great. You just did a workshop then, and you did so well. I got nothing to say, but absolutely brilliant. Can we give Karen Clark a round of applause? There you go. I think Karen Clark should do a whole workshop on her answer. That was brilliant.
Well, it is part of my programs.
There you go. You're love pro. Well, we love your work, Karen. Big thank you to Karen. We love Karen amazingly. I'll just quickly touch on the comments, and then we're going to bounce over to Master Coach Sonia, Dr. Liz, and finish up with Eileen. So thank you all. So we've got just to summarize the reactions. Jackie, love the love languages. Eileen loves you, Karen. Camilla, you're awesome. And Carolyn says time's very important. I agree with you. Time is very finite. And Mel is crying. Mel, we love you, Mel. And thank you for being so awesome sitting there. And Karen, great job again. Great job again. So let's bounce over to Master Coach Sonia, Dr. Liz, and Eileen Avard for sort of their reactions and closing thoughts. Master Coach Sonia, big thank you. What are some of your reactions and closing thoughts? Oh, thanks.
Sorry about that. I don't know if my dog started barking.
But at least your dogs don't run away like my cat does. So there you go.
Oh, I think this is a very important topic, and to everyone today have really brought their A game in and identifying so many important areas of love, as far as types of love, the language of love. How our children, how we're naturally love, and building that healthy relationship with yourself as well as others is vital to as a human being, to our existence, because without love you feel empty, and it's almost like you don't have a compass in your body, because it's just, where do you go if you don't have that love, or if you don't have love returned, for example, from someone. You keep trying to get it, and it goes on for years. Well, finally you have to take care of yourself and just let it go, and it's like and lift it up to who you believe, and let that work it out on its own, and it will come back around if it's meant to be. So I thank you for this topic today. It's awesome.
And I thank you, Sonia, again. Thank you for coming with what's happened to you. And can we pray again for Sonia's legendary mom? Sonia, we love you. Prayers for your legendary mom.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank
but
you
I can
so
say
much.
this, my mother, who is alive and functional today, kicking butt, she had terminal cancer twice, and I was a cancer baby. So there you go. So there you go. A lot. Doctors can be wrong. Remember, doctors are the ones that used to run around saying smoking was awesome. So doctors can be wrong. Just remember that. There you go. There you go. Doctors, I was actually young enough to remember that. I remember some doctors, pardon my age here, but I was young enough to remember some doctors still saying smoking is actually not too bad for you. It's pretty good. I remember that, actually. There you go. Does anyone remember that? I remember that. I'm old enough to remember that. Crazy times. There you go. Sonia, we love you. Round of applause for you again, Sonia. We appreciate you so much. And we're going to bounce over to Dr. Liz. And before we bounce over to Dr. Liz, I'll just read out Dr. Liz's comment. Dr. Liz made a brilliant comment. Time and attention. I know many business mums that might give time, but are still multitasking, and you have that split attention. Just paraphrasing. I couldn't agree with you more. I multitask too much, and I'm not a mum, and it's just terrible. And Carolyn remembers. So Carolyn and I must be from the same era. And the Marlboro Man cigarettes ad. Yeah, I remember the days where doctors actually said, when I was younger, it was still, you knew smoking was bad, but a lot of doctors were still saying, yeah, smoking's not that bad for you. In fact, smoking can actually cure a few conditions. I remember some doctors actually saying that. So crazy times. So I'm saying listen to doctors, but don't listen to them too much. So I can say, except listen to Dr. Liz. We love the Dr. Liz.
The right ones, the nutrition ones. Go into the source of the problems, not just treating the symptoms. Absolutely.
Exactly. Look, all yours, Dr. Liz. What do you think? What are your closing thoughts?
So look, I think everyone's spoken so beautifully. I won't take up much time. I guess, just wanted to focus on the importance of boundaries, and that knowing your values is important for that. And I know in this space, everyone's sort of in coaching or, personal development. So everyone seems to be pretty au fait with this, which is great. But for me, really, I only sort of came into actually doing a personal value activity a couple of years ago. I've done it for business, I've done it for career, KPIs, all that sort of stuff. And I think often we put too much or more emphasis on business and career and not necessarily on ourselves. So for those who haven't done some sort of, personal value type exercise, I strongly, strongly encourage you to do so. And yes, in order to help develop those really healthy boundaries that we can do moving forward, I think is a really, really key aspect. It's one I'm absolutely still working on, but I think it is really important. And otherwise, I think we've had a beautiful discussion. I think really many important parts, and that, touching on that there's not necessarily good or bad. We just have different preferences or different ways of communicating or different ways of wanting to send and receive love. So I think if we're perhaps a little bit more open to things, not so quick to judge or jump on things, and seek to understand. I think seek first to understand rather than to immediately take offense with things, then hopefully we wouldn't run into so many dramas and, traumas and whatever else that we all come across.
Oh, amazing. And Dr. Liz, I have to say this. I mean, we go back a long time, Dr. Liz, and you have absolutely powered through the relationship breakup that you've had. I got to say,
Shiza, relationship shiza. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Hey, what I will say, it's absolutely been a journey, and I think what I wasn't quite expecting were the ups and downs, and there have been a few little downs lately, but I'm coming up again, and I think that was it. I kind of thought, I've nailed this breakup thing. It's it's all sorted. Let's just do all the things and let's go on. And then I was surprised when I sort of hit one of the dips again. So I think just being gentle with myself and knowing that we all need to be gentle with ourselves, and that there's ebbs and flows and whatever else, but that I think the more we get to know ourselves and connect with other amazing people, is that the next phase can be even more exciting and more rewarding than the first phase. So.
Okay. And if I can ask, if you don't mind me asking a little bit of a darker question, and you're talking to a guy who's been through a lot of highs and lows over the past few years, right?
Yeah.
When you're at a low, I'm not so much asking about you in particular, but when you're at a low, right? What are some of your just closing thoughts on how to sort of work through that low and pick up again? What are some of your thoughts there?
I think the key thing is to put time frames on it so that you don't spiral down, and that think of ways of so allowing time for processing and crying and healing and all that sort of stuff you need to do. But I think if you can sort of see yourself spiraling down or whatever, then make sure you reach out to loved ones, other people. I think it's amazing that often we feel alone until we start to mention it, and then you realize we're surrounded by so many amazing people that are only more than happy to sort of help and bump us up. But when you're in that mode, I think it's really hard because it's very easy to spiral. So I think it's okay to wallow and feel a little bit whatever, but I think put a time frame on it, and make sure you've got some really good support systems. And then other than that, obviously nourish yourself well. I'm a big advocate for healthy eating, exercise. I've taken up boxing. You might not know that. Particularly intensive exercise, I think, is good, and a bit of meditation, and then just connecting with other amazing people is also good.
Well, all I can say, Dr. Liz, I reckon you'd have amazing footwork, and you'd throw a very good deceptive left punch to throw your attack.
Thank you. Working on it.
Oh my God. Can we give a round of applause to Dr. Liz? And it's absolutely amazing. And we're going to finish up with amazing Eileen Avardis, the closing thoughts, and just a few things before we hear the final words from Eileen. Eileen gets to close things today. A few references. Feel free to please share all your final links, do all your final networking links. We're going to finish up soon and keep it going. So just Chris Miller says thank you to everyone. Chris Miller and I go back. We love you, Chris. Amazing lady. Karen Clark put in a link to book a virtual coffee. So just please follow Karen. Karen's an amazing lady, as you know. Deborah Bard says, thank you, Dr. Liz, for going your honesty in the highs and lows. And absolutely, there you go. Dr. Liz, out of all the people I know, Dr. Liz is a master of navigating the lows. I tend to throw stuff and go crazy on a low. Dr. Liz calmly sweeps through it. So we can all learn from the doctor in the house. Eileen, we're going to bounce over the line in a minute. We're going to close with Eileen's thoughts. Carolyn would love to connect, and so would amazing Camilla. So yeah, please put in all your final chat. We're going to finish up very shortly, but not before we hear the final thoughts from Eileen. Eileen, thank you for being so patient. What are your closing thoughts of everything you've heard, and tell us everything you're thinking.
I just love this topic, and I love how well they express the language. And so, because I'm a person of few words and just hear the things that in terms of boundaries, in terms of communication, unless we can communicate ourselves clearly, because I grew up without parents of few words. So the things that I say is I'm terrified of expressing. And then when I come out to express anything, it's like a bomb that just gone off, and then it hurt people. So now I'm just learning how to express myself. So all this expression, I'm taking heaps of notes, because then it allows me to have better relationships, unless we can communicate, and unless we can, because boundary is all part of communications. Because if you do not know how to express it, all you have to do is just either pushing people away, and then or you drop a bomb if you want to say your words. So boundary and communication is say, know what you stand for, what you allow, and what you tolerate. So then people will not say things unknowingly to hurt you. So to me is that once you're clear what you stand for, you allow what people comes into your inner circle, and what you will keep them in your outer circle. So then you will not have people, then your self-preservation in your inner circle is about how you love yourself. And to me, that is so important. When you know what you stand for, it's like what Dr. Lee say. When what Dr. Lee says, do your value works, because your value works define who you are and what you stand for. And then you create a healthy boundary. You clearly will be able to have the language to express to the people around you. And I just love, it's a topic that is so dear to me. And then when you can clearly express it, you know your expectation of yourself. People know what to expect from you. No BS, no rubbish, no whatever those things that cause conflicts. Then you will have the confidence to clearly express yourself. That's to me. But I love this topic. Thank you so much, Liz. And I love all those people who have expressed themselves. That helps me to communicate better.
Round of applause. What a great closing thought. There you go. So great closing thoughts. So just to finish up, just to let you know, if you are watching the recording, which you probably are statistically speaking, please connect with all these winners on LinkedIn and more. And also to stay tuned, Lassie's going to be launching the next Boss Ladies Summit. And Lassie is a master of looking into the future and picking out the right topics. So we'll see what Lassie conjures up. So stay tuned for that one. So friends, to finish off today, can we please unmute and finish off with a thunderous round of applause? Unmute. Thank you, everyone. Bye all.
Everyone.
Bye all.
Thank you.
Awesome
topic.